Joe, stop and restart that. There's no music. Please.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Monday. Hope your week is starting off right. Hope your weekend was well and you had a good time. The weather was incredible. It's incredible right now, but that's about to change in most places, at least around here. Let me see if hold on one second. Clean that off a little bit. There we go. Looks a little nicer. Much better. But yeah, hope you had a great weekend. Everybody hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline as well. Appreciate that. Welcome aboard. Don't forget Indiana Sports Beat Radio brought to you by the Wild Club. Of course, everybody needs to sign up for the Wild Club. Go there and sign up to mywildnetwork.com. But you can just go to My Wild Club and any place you see the link, you can hit on that. It's a live link. Sign up and start earning dialing dollars today for places like BB's Marketplace, which we'll be doing some shows from as we go forward as well. But and don't forget about our good friends at Andy Moore Honda. And hope you had a great weekend. What's new? Nope, not in a new studio, just in a coffee shop at the moment. But hope everyone is off to a good start. How was your weekend? What did you do? Lots going on, lots to talk about. Freshmen are moving in at Indiana. The Warriors tie the NBA Finals with the Celtics. NASCAR and IndyCar over the weekend. IndyCar was in Detroit, I believe, the Detroit Grand Prix. I have to check that. NASCAR. Chase Briscoe had the pole at a new venue, a unique. It was unique. It was a 300-mile race, which is smaller than most. It was on a track a half-mile track that had a very unique design. One end was smaller than the other, kind of like Darlington, but different. So that was kind of wild. Baseball, you've got the Cards beating the Cubs. Cards win. Cubs lose. In extra innings last night, I think that went 11. Before that one finally wrapped up, the Cardinals got I think 2 runs in the 11th to win that one. I was watching that game. The Reds, my Reds are still stinking up the joint. Joe, come on in here. Joe, the producer. I guess we got to do that differently because JTP is already John, the producer. So I guess JTP 2. There we go, or JTP squared. But Joe, the producer. Our associate producer on duty this week is John is on assignment with his vacation with his bride. So hope he's having a good week. But Joe, our associate producer, an IU student. Thanks a lot, Joe. We appreciate you, brother. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's a great Monday morning. Happy to be here. Happy to be able to get this show up and running for everybody.
You betcha. Joe was what'd you go to Floyd Central High School, right?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
And an IU student. So good to see the kids still making it happen, right? Not just kidding. Just teasing. It's a joke. I know he's a hard worker and looking forward to having JTP 2 on as well, but he'll be on all week. Did you watch the NBA Finals last night?
I did. It was a really, it just kind of showed the Warriors really flexed their muscles.
Yeah, well, I think that first game loss was a wake-up call, a shocker. You did not expect that. So. And, I mean, I think the Warriors were expected to win this series from the start, but that first game loss was a head-scratcher to some and a wake-up call to the Warriors. We'll see as we go forward. But a lot of more Draymond Green stuff. I mean, I guess if you're a fan of the Warriors, you're a fan of his, but it's always like, dude, come on. It's like it's not just always that. It's like that Grayson Allen stuff,
right?
It's just like ticky-tacking, always dragging feet over people. It's like, man, come on. I don't mind pushing, shoving, grabbing, all that kind of stuff that during play. But this kind of stuff, it's unprofessional. It's not even acceptable at any level. It's just ridiculous. So there's my take on that.
Yeah, I think he's always kind of been sort of the diva type, kind of plays it up a little bit, but that's just the way he is. He's really, I guess fit that role for the Warriors for all the years that they've been in championship contention, I guess. And, I mean, I guess the fans love it, so he keeps doing it, but it kind of gets on my nerves. So, not a fan.
I think everybody, it's just one of those things. It's All-Star Week as well in Indiana. Oh, Indiana and Kentucky All-Stars. I guess festivities, if you would call them that, or the events started yesterday down at Bedford North Lawrence High School as the Indiana and Junior All-Stars on the boys and the girls side played each other. Indiana, of course, swept that with the girls winning 92-89 in a game that got close after a very sloppy first half with combined 23 fouls, 21 turnovers for both teams. And then Kentucky put on a late trap, and it got Indiana rattled as it got the game close. Like I said, the final score 92-89. Indiana wins that one. On the boys' side, Marcus Burton from Penn, 9 of 10 at the free throw line, leads Indiana to a 112-102 win over the Kentucky Junior All-Stars. So good news as that goes forward. No guarantee that that's the team that will be the senior All-Stars for next year, but there are a core group on there that certainly will. But it's always good to see that tradition continue as Indiana wins it again. 112-102, Marcus Burton from Penn. I think he had 17 total points. So then you've got the junior and senior All-Stars playing. I think that's Wednesday at Mount Vernon before the Kentucky and Indiana senior All-Stars on both the boys and girls side. Pick it up this Friday and Saturday. Friday down in Owensboro, and then Saturday, of course, over at Southport. So make sure you head out there and see the guys that you want to see, because that should be a pretty good game. It's a pretty good team. The junior team did not have, and I need to mention that too, the junior with that win, they didn't have Xavier Booker, probably their best player on the team either. So there's that. But it's always good to win, right? So All-Stars coming up this week. Like I said, looking forward to that. Indiana has a substantial lead in that series. I don't have the exact lead. I think it's like 102 or 3 to 41 in that series. Indiana leads that series on the boys' side. Kind of crazy. But Indiana's barely, I think, lost just a couple of games in the last 20 years. It's mind-boggling, but not really if you think about it. But you would think that, a little more competitive than that. But Tim had his strawberry wine slushy this weekend at Patoka Lake Winery. So, we got to plug that in. Yeah, that's always a good thing to do. Didn't have that plugged in. Forrest says Draymond is a dirty, disgusting player. I definitely would. I'd call him dirty. I don't think I'd call him disgusting. Disgusting, it would be just being flagrant nonstop. But when you're getting technicals game in, game out, but you know what? Some teams need that. Every team needs their bad guy. Go back and look. Look at the Bad Boys. Remember them? What was Bill Laimbeer? He was their enforcer, man. You still have to have an enforcer in the NBA, even though it's a different game now, different time. They call the game differently, and I think that he's just kind of a throwback. If you want to be truthful, it's not the way the game is played today, but it sure was played this way a long time ago, not that long ago. Not that long ago at all, guys. So think about that. And we all lament the softness of a lot of things about today's games. So we have to remember he's playing how they used to play. So you can call him a throwback. I would. But it's not that saying I'm a fan. I'm not. When it stands out like that, if you're doing it in the paint, maybe, but who knows? I'm not a Warriors fan, so I'm not going to get all tied up in it. But it's not. I just don't think it's how. I don't know if it helps him. It may, because it puts him in a bad position. And if he gets out of the game, if that would have been a flagrant, that second one, and they lose him, now you're hurting your team. When you're putting your team's success at risk at a level like this, yeah, I think you got to really think about where that line is, so you don't go over, because they need him in the game more than everything. Let's see. Tim said that Xavier Booker put on a show at Pangos, and even had NBA scouts buzzing, which is where he was instead of playing in the Junior All-Star game. Let's see. Anybody else with some good weekend fun? Going through here. Ross is on. Forrest, Mike, guys. And don't forget, you guys can always comment, and we appreciate that. No matter when you have the opportunity to watch or listen to the show. I try to respond to them as quickly if I can to get to that as well. And don't forget, go to if you're not listening on the Ref, 97.7 ESPN in Evansville or WBRO 89.1, you can always watch or listen on where you podcast or YouTube. You can go there, sign up, subscribe, and hit the like button. We really appreciate that, especially all of our guests. They greatly appreciate it as well. Great men like the great Mitchell Paige, who is doing me a solid today. He's going to fill in for a couple segments while I jump out for an appointment, and then I'll be back. Dustin Dopirak is on the show today. Kyler Staley is going to be on the show today here coming up in the next segment. We'll find out more about what happened down in Bedford as Indiana sweeps the Indiana All-Stars. Or Indiana sweeps the Kentucky All-Stars. All that coming up here next with Mitchell Paige and Kyler Staley. I'll be back in a little bit. Until then, I'll see you on the radio. But we'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this. Okay, Joe.
Yes, sir.
I'll be back.
All right. Sounds good.
Tell those guys thank you.
Will do. Hey, guys. How's it going?
What's going on? Kyler, what's up, man?
I think we got a little bit of a lag here.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you. Just a little bit behind.
Okay. Hold on. Let me try to jump to the other side of the. That help at all?
Favor, can you actually just leave and then come back, because we can't hear you? Thank you.
Is mine any better here?
Yep, you're all good.
All right, perfect. Get down, dog. You crazy?
That better?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Awesome. What is the game plan here without Jim?
Yeah, so I'll be I'm filling in for him. I'm Mitchell. Good to meet you, man.
Okay.
Just real quick, I'm going to probably just set you up, let you take it away. Sounds like you were at the games this last weekend, so
okay. Yeah, I was not, but I've got some. I know what I kind of know what happened. So
okay.
I can try to fill in a little bit, see what's going on.
Yeah, that's perfect. Just try to make it as smooth as possible. So appreciate you working with Jim.
No problem. If you have any questions about recruiting or anything like that, just go ahead and you can shoot them my way, and then I can try to best answer them.
Yeah, hopefully my dog doesn't keep barking. Stop, Franklin. Quit.
All right, 30 seconds until we come back.
Okay. All right.
HRVs and pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
What's going on, everybody?
Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Sorry for being a little early, but as Jim told you, I'm here with Kyler Staley. Going to be talking some Indiana high school hoops and some recruiting. Kyler, thanks for coming on, man.
No problem. It's always good to be here. A little different today, but we're going to get through it.
Yeah, exactly. And for the listeners, this is my first time doing this, so don't be too mean to us for these next 40 minutes. So I'm just going to pass it off to you real quick, man. What were your thoughts from this last week, and what kind of things are you hearing?
Yeah, so obviously with June, AAU ball kind of there's obviously some games and stuff going on, but it's more of a high school thing. High school teams are playing in these camps, stuff like that. Two big things that happened this past weekend was, one, the Junior All-Star game between Indiana and Kentucky. Saw guys like Miles Colvin, who's going to Purdue. Got other guys like Sam Orm that played in it. Trying to think who else. Jermaine Coleman, Zane Dottie. Had a bunch of those guys out there. Xavier Booker, that's a big name that a lot of the people know, didn't play this past weekend because he's out in Las Vegas, I believe, at the Pongos camp, I believe. Yeah. So he was not available, but he obviously would have been there. It was a clean sweep between the boys and the girls. Obviously, you're not going to get the best of basketball. It's more of a showcase type of thing. Very high scoring games. I know the boys were at least in the 100s. But, that's just kind of what it is for. It's just a cool event to have. And it was in Bedford. That's my hometown. So that's actually kind of cool for me to see that. I wasn't there, but I did catch up on the highlights and everything. But it really sounded like the big performance of the day was Miles Colvin, the Purdue commit. I think he had about 23 points that day. But, just a good event, good solid event. They've got the boys coming up next week, I believe the 11th, and that's in Southport. That's the senior one. So you'll see like Braden Smith, CJ Gunn, I believe, is going to be playing in it. And then a few other big names out there. And then we also had the team camp in Indiana at IU this past week. Saw guys like Travis Perry, Gabe Cups, Trent Sisley, Jalen Harrelson. I believe Carmel was there as well. So that was kind of cool. We got to see Travis Perry, who's starting to become a well-known Indiana target. No offer yet, but he played up against Gabe Cups, and I think Travis Perry's team won that. Had a big game from him, and then I've also heard of some big performances with Jalen Harrelson and Trent Sisley as well. So those are a few younger guys that Indiana fans are kind of, keeping an eye on as we get going here.
Yeah, busy last week, it sounds like.
Yeah.
As we're kind of backing up here, is there any names from the junior game that you're hearing that maybe were surprising good or surprising maybe not as good performance? Just anybody that kind of sticks out in your mind?
I don't know if I heard any bad performances in that way. Like I mentioned, just kind of like a showcase in a way. Miles Colvin, I wouldn't say he was surprising because he is a very good player or whatever. I wasn't expecting him to be the high scorer of the Indiana team. Trying to think if there's anybody else. I'm just trying to what I read off of Twitter and things like that, since I wasn't able to be there. past weekend. But, Miles Colvin had a pretty big game, and I think he's going to be really solid for Purdue when he does get there. I have seen him play a few times for the Indy Nets. That's his AAU team. Very ball-dominant guard, a lot of ISO. I don't know if he'll have that exact same playing style when he eventually goes and plays for Purdue, but that's something to kind of keep an eye on with him.
Okay. Fantastic. Looking forward to this week. Who are some guys? Obviously, we got some hopeful IU commits playing, and CJ Gunn and a couple others. But what kind of things are you looking for this weekend from the seniors? Obviously, we'd love to sweep it again, but
yeah, I think it's going to be. The big thing is you'll have like guys that are already Division I commits. Ryan Conwell's another guy. He's gone to South Florida. A little under the radar type of player. CJ Gunn, I'm almost for sure that he's going to be playing in this. He did just arrive on campus with the other freshmen. So, and then Braden Smith, from what I heard, I don't actually think he is playing now that I remember. I think he just had some knee surgery that he had trouble with this past high school season. So it'll be interesting. Trying to think. Jalen Washington, the big guy up at Gary West, I believe, didn't play at all this past senior year due to an injury, but he's a North Carolina commit. If he was playing, he would have been a Mr. Basketball candidate this past season, I strongly believe, but I know he's going to be there. I don't think he's going to be playing, so I just mentioned a ton of people that I don't think is going to be playing in it, but it's still going to be a big event. We've got some other guys that are going to be playing. No, really, obviously, they're seniors. They don't have any Indiana ties anymore or anything like that. Most of them are Division I players, and then they will get to go on and, hopefully have one last good showing in front of the Indiana, high school fan base before they go off to college.
Yeah, absolutely. That is funny. That's such a hard thing to balance, right? When you're a senior and you're getting ready to go play big time Division I college basketball, and especially coming off an injury, finding that balance. And it's, at least in my experience, I know it was hard. You're trying to make sure that you are 100% going into camp because it's hit the ground running as fast as possible. So yeah, that's it's always just a tough thing for those guys, but hope to get to see them because that's, you want to see the best players.
Yeah. I think it's just with CJ's case, like he could easily come and play in this event. It's not an event that, it's not going to be a high competitive game. Yeah. It's a showcase, like I mentioned. You got the best, players from the state of Indiana versus the best players of Kentucky. So it's like, it's going to be a high scoring game. You can compare it to an NBA All-Star game. There's going to be some fun dunks. There's going to be stuff like that. It's a good event. I highly suggest if you're around the Southport area to go check it out, especially, if you're a fan of some of those kids that are going to particular schools. If CJ Gunn is willing to play, I guarantee you there'll be a lot of Indiana fans there. But, we'll get confirmation on that later this week if he's playing or not.
What is the mood, and maybe this is a question that I should know the answer to, but I don't. The mood on like Mike Woodson as he's getting ready to incorporate all these freshmen into the lifts and things like that, allowing somebody like CJ Gunn that's going to hopefully be extremely – you're going to see him a lot next season hopefully. So as you're trying to find the right balance, what do you think that's like for Mike Woodson, allowing him to go play in something like this? And it is a showcase, I know, but these guys are competitive, right? They want to put their best foot forward, so they're not going to be just jogging around, or at least I hope they wouldn't be. But what do you think the balance would be for Mike Woodson?
I think it's more of an excitement type of thing. CJ has worked his butt off. Coming back from that injury that he missed like 9 games this past year. That's really kind of derailed his Mr. Basketball, candidacy and stuff. If he played those 9 games, he probably would be Mr. Basketball for the state. But, for him going to play that, I think that's just, one final thing for CJ, to showcase, it's kind of like, give thanks to, the Indiana high school fan base, the people that have followed him and everything. And, as far as just in general, that freshman class came in last week, moved back on campus. I think it's just really just excitement to have them. Indiana didn't really, hit the transfer portal at all. So you got those freshmen, they're going to rely, especially, Jalen Hutchafino, Malik Renew, Those two guys obviously are going to get major minutes. CJ Gunn's the one that's a little bit, tricky. I don't know how many minutes he'll get just because of the depth and everything. But, if he can have a big summer and stuff, and Woodson can be like, we can find a place for him to come off the bench, get some really, really solid spot minutes throughout the season, that would be big for them. But, overall, I think with Mike Woodson, the fan base, having those guys on campus, getting them paired up with the guys that are already there, start getting, that chemistry built. I think it's just a lot of excitement going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where I thought I would be on the side of the equation. I feel like anything you can do to promote the program, get fans excited, especially after some of the recent announcements with guys coming back and Indiana going to be favored in the Big Ten potentially. I totally agree that's probably where I would lie on it too.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it'll be interesting, with Michigan losing a couple of players last week. Illinois actually did get a decent amount of good transfers in, and they actually have a good team. It'll be interesting to see who the Big Ten favorite is. All signs kind of point to Indiana right now, but I think all the Indiana fans can agree with me on this. It's hard to get your hopes up in a way, even though on paper it's like, wow, this is a really good team. We showed a ton of improvements last year, but you just kind of got to take it in strides in a way. It would be awesome to have Indiana the Big Ten favorite heading into the season, but as long as they can just finish business and get the things that they need to get done this season, they have a chance to be a really, really special team this year.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it revolves around shooting, right? They didn't really have anybody to knock down shots. If Parker Stewart wasn't making shots, it felt like it sometimes. Yeah. Xavier Johnson was streaky as well, which kind of leads me into, we talked a little bit about Gabe Cupps, and this is just, I don't follow it nearly as close as I should, so I apologize on that. Have you watched Gabe play? He's a guy that I'm about as excited about as anybody.
Yeah, no, he's legit as they come. Obviously, it's not this season he'll be there, but he's a 2023. Yeah. So you got him and Ja'Kai Newton coming in, and Indiana's still working on trying to fill out that 2023 class. With you guys, they're looking for a big and then a shooter, basically. But no, Gabe Cupps, he's a very tough competitor, very, very aggressive. Works his tail off on the court. Very smart. Can make a lot of plays for his team. He trusts his teammates a lot, from what I've seen. He trusts them. He's going to make the right play to have them be successful. He's going to come in and be that, true point guard. It'll be interesting if Jalen Hushapino, which he obviously should still be there by sophomore year. It'll be interesting to see how him and Gabe Cupps kind of play off one another. Gabe Cupps might be coming off the bench when he comes in finally, but there's a little bit of Jordan Halls in him. He can shoot. Obviously, he can continue to improve his shooting and stuff, but makes great plays around the rim. But just overall, just tough on both ends, and he is a competitor, man. I think Indiana fans are really going to enjoy having him.
Yeah. Any comparison we get to Jordan Halls, I think that'll make any Indiana fan giddy. So that's really good information. And what's new? What else is new with you, man? We talked some high school hoops. What else you got going on?
So yeah, like I mentioned, June is kind of for high school camps and stuff like that. A lot of the high school teams get together and they play, and Indiana IU just had their team camp or whatever, so you saw the high school teams get in that. Coming up for me is the Top 100 Showcase at Ben Davis, I believe, which is the 18th. So I will be there for that, and I'm hoping that there's a live period there, because last year there was. So hoping that all the Division I coaches are out there to see the top 100, Indiana high school players. So you'll see guys like Xavier Booker, JQ Roberts, tons of names I can't even think off the top of my head, but they will all be there. And usually, I remember last year, there's usually a couple of breakout performances who, they have the breakout performances in front of those coaches, and they end up getting a Division I offer. There's usually about one or two guys that, going in, you don't expect him to be a Division I player. Then he has a breakout performance and he gets a nice Division I offer, from the coaches. But it's a great event. They go through drills and things like that. They're divided up in teams, and then after those drills and stuff are completed, you'll see them do a few scrimmage games and stuff. Ben Davis does a great job of hosting that event. So multiple courts and everything, really easy, real accessible for the coaches to be there to watch that. So that's coming up. And then you've got July is just that's a big month. As far as it comes to AAU ball, you've got Peach Jam at the end of the month there, and then, a few other big events that goes on. I think there will be another EYBL before Peach Jam comes in, I think, in Kansas City. So you'll see that. And Adidas, Under Armour, they'll have events as well. But, June's kind of for that high school group to kind of get together and, get back into a rhythm and stuff like they did. They've taken a few months off from playing with each other. And then, they get back into that. And then July hits, and then it's back to big time AAU ball. July is probably the biggest month of the year when it comes to, AAU basketball. So a lot of stuff to look forward to. And, of course, the Hoosier.com will be out there in full force, giving everybody the coverage that they need. So
love it. I love it. What's one name at the top 100 that you know of that maybe people haven't heard of, that maybe one of those 1, 2, 3 guys that breaks out that's a little under the radar right now?
So for me, the first thing that came off the top of my head was Sam Orm from Carmel. Jim Reaver's going to be on here, so he's a big Carmel fan, so we'll be able to tell him all about it. But he's a lanky shooter, man. He really got some great height on him, great size, great arms. He can just, he can light it up from deep. There is some Indiana interest in there right now. No offer as of right now. I don't know if there ever will be an offer eventually, but coaches have been watching him, keeping an eye on him. He's going to be one of the main guys for Carmel this year. They lost, Pete Suter, and then they lost Charlie Williams. So, we'll have Sam Orm kind of, be that guy, especially from behind the arc, to make plays. But I could really see him having a big game, or big showcase, as I should say. And then getting a few more Division I offers. He's already got a few mid-major ones. I believe, off the top of my head, he's got like Indiana State. I believe Wichita State's taking a look at him as well. But he's a guy that I'm going to kind of keep an eye on, because that type of event, it's a lot of, showcasing what you can do on the floor. And, every school needs shooters like that, especially lanky shooters, ones that have big size on the perimeter. So I could see him having a very, very good weekend there.
I actually, I've watched Sam play a couple times, and I'm sure out in AAU ball, he gets out in the open and is running, and it's more fast break kind of transition threes. It was strange when I watched him at Carmel, and maybe it was because they just had a bunch of other guys. He was trying to bang down low and maybe need some more weight, but it felt like he was getting pushed around a little bit. What's his kind of natural position, do you think, at the college level?
I think he's just a bigger size wing. Right there. Like, obviously, like you just said, he has to put on some weight, especially if he's going to, let's say Indiana did offer him and, all things kind of worked out and he went to a Big Ten school or something like that, like a Northwestern or something, which I could totally see, which I think they might have already offered him. But, if he goes to a high major school, like, he's going to get beat up if he stayed at the same size that he's at now. And he can make plays, down low. He can bang right now. If he had the same size going into college, probably wouldn't work out that well. But as far as natural position, he's just a bigger wing, and he's so skilled from behind the arc.
Yeah, I'm excited to see his growth. I'm a Carmel kid growing up. Didn't go to Carmel High School, but kids from that area, I'd like to see them succeed. So and it's funny. Like I do the same thing. I just did it, but you worry about always too little. And you forget this is going to be Division I college lifting, so that won't be a problem pretty quick.
He'll get the weight put on him, especially with a great strength coach. He will get the weight put on him, and he will have. I think he will have a really, really good college career. Yeah.
Well, that is awesome. Anything else that we got here? I think we got a couple minutes before we got to head to break. Anything for the good of the order?
No, I mean, it's just, AAU ball, going to be ramping back up again. It's the month of the high school group and everything. And, you got to see last week, you got to see the freshmen come in. So that's exciting. Right now it's just kind of, it's summer work now. So as far as, Indiana is concerned, it's incorporating those freshmen, seeing how they fit and stuff, and starting to build that chemistry with the guys they already got. And then there's going to be a lot of preseason hype coming up. You've seen like Jeff Goodman, or I'm trying to think who it was. John Rothstein, had kind of predicted that Indiana was going to be the favorite going into Big Ten. So it's just kind of, I expect you'll see more of that. from those type of guys, kind of where they're predicting Indiana to finish and everything. They did just announce that I think it was like a multiple game event series or whatever with I think it was like Miami, Ohio, and then Little Rock, and then there was somebody else I couldn't think of. But, just a lot of excitement, building out their schedule, and then, there'll be updates along the way this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the timeline like on the summer? Last question for you. As we get going here, I know workouts start, practice. When are coaches allowed to start interacting? What's that timeline look like real quick?
Yeah, I think it's just, workouts. That's the big thing right now, especially getting those freshmen, that size that they need, start putting on weights. And then, just kind of a lot of open gym right now, trying to build that chemistry. It's a lot of inner team things right now. And then, once August and September roll around, you'll start getting a lot more practice time then. So that's just kind of something right there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kyler. Always appreciate it. And it was great to talk to you for the first time in person. Hopefully get to do this a lot more. And yeah, I guess we'll head to break. We appreciate it. We'll see you when we come back.
Awesome.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda.
All right. Well, that went pretty smoothly.
Yeah, 1 for 1. I would give myself a C. It's hard to talk for that long. I don't know how he does that every day.
I mean, it's just what he does. All right, I'm going to bring Dustin in.
Yeah, sweet.
Hey, Dustin, how's it going?
Mitchell?
Dustin, what's up, man?
Hey, Joe, how are you? Not bad at all. Not bad at all. How's this? How you guys doing? How's this maiden voyage going for you? Or is it? Have you guys done this together
segment
before?
down.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good
we're I've only done this first day. 1 segment down. I would say I was just saying probably a C plus for me.
Okay.
May need to take over a little bit.
All right.
Nice being modest. It was a really good segment.
Good job, guys. Good deal.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Forrest thinks I did well, so you can't be too bad. What you want to talk about? What do you usually talk about? Is it some IU football only, or we talk
IU
about
football, IU basketball? I mean, Jim kind of just picks it out of the sky, whatever. I mean, I guess a place we could start is I did like a like Big Ten basketball power rankings coming off the draft withdrawal deadline. So, I guess everybody's talking about, the general national consensus seems to be that Indiana should be the favorite. And I agree, but I also think it's going to be a weird league, so much is gone. So much talent is gone.
Okay.
So I think that's something to talk about, but I'm good to talk as much IU football as you want to. So
we'll start there. And then I truthfully haven't been paying too much attention to how spring has gone. Without having a spring game, it's kind of hard to follow from afar. So
it is. Yeah, we could go there. Cool.
Take away. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I do need to mention don't let me forget the sponsor. Is it the Courtroom? Is that what that's called?
I was going to actually change that. Is yours the SIG, Mitchell?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's okay.
Right, I'll go ahead and swap that in. So that's all you.
Then we're going to be the sponsor of this segment. Oh, I like that question too. Where will Big Ten be compared to some other conferences? From Mike.
We're talking basketball or football or both?
Basketball.
Okay.
We'll go basketball. We'll talk about the power rankings of the Big Ten, and then talk about that kind of more broadly, and hopefully have some time to talk to football as well.
Sounds good.
All right, sweet. What's the timing like, Joe?
We've got 35 seconds.
Okay. Perfect. I'm going to try not to go early on this one.
Okay. You should be all good.
Where's my dog? There he is.
At Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back here with Dustin Dopirak. And this is, thanks for the reminder, Chris, by the way. This segment is sponsored by Sands Investment Group, my company. Any real estate questions, any questions about the market, give me a call. Would love to chat with you. But now that that's out of the way, Dustin, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Mitchell. I like that way of using this. This works well. It's cross promotion. Well done. Well done.
Absolutely. It was not my idea. I want to say that as well.
But it still works, man. I like it. I like bringing two strands together here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're always working, always in sales, right? So during the break, we were talking a little bit. We recently came out with a power rankings. We've been talking basketball. Let's just keep on power rankings for the Big Ten. What you thinking? Let's go into it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you started just seeing, all the sort of national minds pop up with their, preseason top 25s after the withdrawal deadline. And you started to see this sort of consensus forming around the idea that Indiana is suddenly the Big Ten favorite. And it was like, wow, it's like wild to consider that they, just barely made the tournament last year. We're in the first four. But, obviously, when you bring back your, he'd been an All-American, all Big Ten guy in Trace Jackson Davis, like, okay. So I look at that, I was like, all right, do I think this? Do I believe this? And really sort of looked into the rosters, into what everybody's bringing back. And I actually do. And it does, I think, though, speak more to how much the Big Ten is losing when you really look at it. I mean, it's 12 of the 15 or 16, I guess, all Big Ten players when you look between the media and the coaches' teams. The only guys back are Jackson Davis, Hunter Dickinson, and Zach Edey. So, I mean, there's still three bigs, and that matters because, okay, there's three big guys, and they're going to be anchors for those teams. But a lot of other talent is gone. I mean, obviously, you're going to see, probably three guys in the top 10 go from the Big Ten, and Ivy and Murray and Davis. Then you're looking at another possible lottery pick in Malachi Branham, and then a lot of other pieces are going to go. EJ Liddell, from Ohio State. You're going to see the two Michigan kids, and Caleb Houston and Musa Diababa going in there. When you really look at it, it shakes up the league a whole lot, and I could see eight different teams winning it, and they're kind of a coin flip to me. I look at, I think Ohio State and Illinois, I think, did a really good job. They lost a lot of players, but brought a lot in from each of them from a transfer portal situation. Illinois goes out and gets Matthew Mayer from Baylor and Terrence Shannon from Texas Tech. I think it's going to be a couple of really important guys. Ohio State went and got a bunch of interesting pieces. And I got to kind of look at this to remind myself who they are. But Isaac Lee, I think, from Oklahoma State, John McNeil from West Virginia, a guy that Indiana was after, and Tanner Holden from Wright State, a guy who was averaging 20 a game there. So I think those teams have a chance to be interesting. Michigan, I think, still has gotten some really good recruiting classes the last couple of years. I think you can argue, going in, it's either Trace Jackson Davis or Hunter Dickinson for preseason player of the year. I would think those would be the two guys who could win it. So I think you got to give an edge to the guy that might be bringing the best player back. So I think you got to put them in there. But I think, Purdue, obviously, I think still returns enough pieces for as much as they lost with Ivy and Williams and Stefanovic. You still bring back some interesting dudes, Edey being back, Mason Gillis being back. And they've stockpiled, Matt Painter has done a good job of redshirting guys and being able, he's one of the few of the guys I think can really pull that off at this stage. It's not a thing that a lot of people sign up for, with the portal being what it is. He's still got years of Brandon Newman left, and Newman hasn't been as productive as I thought he would be coming out of Valparaiso, but I think he has a chance still to be a really good player. And Ethan Morton, I think, is a nice player. And Trey Kaufman-Renn didn't play all last year with his injury. And you still have Caleb First, and Indiana, Mr. Basketball. So I think they've got enough pieces to make a run at it. Michigan State's still Michigan State, and they've got some dudes. And then Wisconsin, I just always presume that I'm underrating Wisconsin every year, and just no matter what they have on their roster, they're going to find a way. And if that means biting, kicking, scratching, stealing, getting refs on your side, whatever, it's Wisconsin, they'll find a way. They're going to end up better than 500 in the Kohl Center, so they're going to be there. As much as I look at that roster and say, well, there's not a whole lot coming back here, they're Wisconsin. I have no doubt they're going to be in the mix just because they are. And so, and I guess last thing is, if Chris Murray does this year what Keegan Murray did last year, then you got to put Iowa in that mix. So it's a big, ugly mess. And I'm sure people will look at this and say, well, you're wrong about that. It's sure, I absolutely could be, it's a coin flip. All right, Purdue will be 5 spots higher. Sure, absolutely could be. So won't even argue with you there. It could go in any direction, really. But I mean, Indiana gets the edge just because, they bring the most back. And they do have, Illinois, Ohio State and Indiana have the 3 best recruiting classes, all ranked in the top 10. Indiana's could easily be the best. If Hood-Schifino and Ray now are as advertised, you throw them in there with the guy coming back with Jackson Davis, with Thompson, with Xavier Johnson. And if Tamar Bates makes a leap, and Jordan Geronimo, you find a way just to max him out more, that's a really good roster. I mean, I just think in terms of, for all of the flaws that you have, the fact that they haven't proven they can shoot at all. There's still a lot of athleticism. There's defense, and there's a guy in the middle you can trust. And now, if Xavier Johnson is what he was the last month of the season, as opposed to what he was, sort of back and forth the rest of it, then you got a really good basketball team. And I presume Jalen Hood-Schifino, because he's 6'5", 210, and he's built like a grown man now, is not going to have, I think, the freshman, wall that Tamar Bates kind of had and that Christian Lander 100% had, obviously coming in a year early in terms of recent big name guys who came in with a lot of hype. I think Hood-Schifino's just physicality and just it makes it harder for me to imagine him falling well short. Just because he's a big guard that can play the point. I haven't, I don't know if he'll shoot it well right out of the gate. I don't know if he'll make all the right decisions right out of the gate, but just because he's got the physicality, I think he's going to be able to defend, and he's not going to get bumped off the line. And so that, I think, just takes you a long way. So I think he's a guy that can start and be a real impact guy. He's not a guy that you're going to have to say, well, is he going to have to put 15 pounds on or whatever? No, I think he's fine physically coming in. He'll have to probably sort of firm it up and be, a little bit less baby fat, a little bit more grown man strength. But if you're 6'5", 210 point guard, no one's messing with you, no one's pushing you around. You can hang. So I those are, I think, my reasons for keeping IU up there. For as many flaws as they had, you could shoot darts in that again. They lost their best shooter and they were one of the worst shooting teams in the league. So, that's a flaw, but everybody else has flaws. And
it seems like Mike Woodson, I mean, obviously he's looking for shooters. Everybody's looking for shooters, but the most important thing to him, and it came to mind when we're talking about Hood-Schifino, how he's physically ready to play defense. That seems to be the most important thing, because I think Tamar Bates added a lot on offense, right? He could create his own shot. One of the only players on IU's team that could create his own shot. But he wasn't always in the right place defensively, and guys could kind of take it to him if it was just one-on-one, and I think that hurt his minutes a lot. So having somebody that's a freshman, that maybe that is the freshman wall, I could definitely see him starting 1 or 2 and off Xavier Johnson, and we'll have to see about the last spot, I guess. But you got Race, Trace, and those 2 plus the last 5 or last 1. I mean, that's a solid lineup. Going back a little bit to before, because I'm still, whenever I think college sports, I got done playing right before kind of the madness happened, where people could just come and go. So how much of these preseason power rankings in all these conferences is just a guess? And when you see the Big Ten versus the rest of the country, how does the Big Ten stack up in those guesses that we're making? Because everybody looks so different now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always a guess. I mean, I think when the people that make these prognostications are obviously doing it in for different reasons at different levels. Like for me, it was just, I need to write a story today.
Absolutely.
It's still fun to do. It's kind of dead out there, and I feel like it's something people will talk about and kind of go through it. And I've been on sort of, I don't know if you call them panels or whatever, where you've got to figure out a top 12, and then everybody will take all those together and we have a Big Ten media preseason poll every year, where a couple of the writers basically send out an email and, okay, everybody send me your top, just list them 1 to 14, and I'll take all that together and combine it. And I think it is a guess in the sense that we don't get to be there and watch the development happen. They close the doors even on the teams we do cover. So it's all right, I don't know how much better Tamar Bates is on June 6th than he was on March 13th. I presume he must be better. I presume he must be a lot better, because he comes into this. I mean, and I think he's a real big key. I mean, I wrote a lot about Tamar Bates, and you mentioned defense. I mean, what was interesting, I think, about it is that he did struggle, is that defense was one of the things he was really, really good at. in high school. That guys will tell you this guy really defends, he really cares about it, he does everything right. And it's just like, it's a different level when you get to college. It's a different thing. And like we talked about, he and I talked about that when I did a big feature. I'm like, well, what's different? He's like, so one thing is, man, just running through screens. He's like, it's different. Like you can get around, like because you can't go. He's like, you can go under in high school and recover. And get to the guys. Like if you go under a good enough shooter, like you're handing him a 3-point shot. So you got to try to go over it. And this guy's, he's not, a 6'2", 190-pound power forward now. Like this guy's, and he played at IMG his senior year in high school. So that's different. Like he was against, college level guys.
Yeah, the transition was there, but they're still in high school.
They're still in high school. Like they're still not grown. Yeah. It's like, no, you're getting a 6'9", 240-pound grown man who has like muscles here on top of
22-year-old.
Who's 22, who's picking you when you're 18, and you're like, well, what do I do about this? Right. Like, like if you had you saw a couple moments where Tamar was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, how do I get around it? Or I can't remember. There was one play where he got deked, and I cannot remember what happened. I feel like there was like a double screen or something. Like he was just like lost, but he was also looking at like when he was done. I was like, what was I supposed to do there? Like they just, they schemed this thing up, and man, I bet. And it's going to take him a year to get through some of that. And he needed to put some more muscle on. You could tell like he wasn't like you've seen skinnier, you've seen worse as far as physical development for sure. Like he wasn't bad, but you could tell there's more to put on for him. He didn't have grown man strength this year yet. So he's going to have to have a weight room year. So I say all that to say, all this development goes on behind closed doors. We barely see the development that happens with the teams that we cover. So how if I don't know enough about what's going on in Bloomington, if I can't even watch that up close, well, what do I know what's going on in Michigan or Columbus or whatever? There's always guys that show up and blow up, and I don't see it coming. And then you've got the portal where you look at it, these guys come in. If they come in from smaller conferences, like just talking about Ohio State, like Tanner Holden from Wright State, averaged 20 a game in the Horizon League. Well, what's that compute to? Like in the Big Ten. And it's just like, okay, sometimes it's an easy, sometimes guys end up coming from there and actually they were just really good and they can play wherever. But sometimes it's like, nah, like you were averaging 20 a game in the Horizon League. That doesn't mean you're any good. That doesn't carry any weight in all the Big Ten. I've seen guys that have come up a league and, they're not ready at all. Like it's not close. And sometimes it comes into rules. Sometimes it's like, okay, Sean McNeil, comes in from West Virginia. Okay. Like his job at Ohio State is going to just be take threes. And it's like, all right, the bucket's still the same distance. You know what I mean? Right. If you can get open looks for him, he can hit them. And so, but it's like, all right, but if you're going to be a guy that's got to be physical, that's going to go to the rim and have to score off that physicality, then it's a different game. So you're never sure who's going to translate and who won't and exactly how. And I've seen it both ways. I remember for Butler, Bryce Enzi came up from Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and he didn't have massive numbers at Butler, but he mattered. He was a guy that could defend and rebound, pass, do smart things. And his numbers weren't gargantuan at Wisconsin, Milwaukee, but he was what they needed. They needed a power forward, a guy who could defend multiple positions and rebound. So it's like you are guessing, and then you're taking guesses at a lot of these other things. So when you end up just making this sort of calculation, okay, well, how much do they got back, and what are they filling in for that? And you just kind of all right, you just try not to look stupid. And, it's not even about necessarily being 100% right. It's just don't get anybody mad at me. I don't really want to have to defend this. I don't want to have to stand on a soapbox to defend this. I'm perfectly okay with being the consensus and being wrong, rather than going out there on a limb and being so wrong that I have to own it for 10 years. I just want to be able to say it, fill out my list, get out of there. And, and it's I preempted even talking about this on Twitter this morning. I could be really wrong, but my point is that this league is all over the place. And so I guess to get back to that other question, where does the Big Ten stand? Man, I don't trust any team in this league. I really don't. And there's a few teams elsewhere that are keeping a bunch of guys, because if we go back to talking about NIL and stuff, you're seeing guys stick around that wouldn't ordinarily stick around. And, particularly, I think, one particular area where it's definitely happening, where I think it's a specific phenomenon, is big guys that only score around the rim. Like that's who's sticking around is Armando Bacot, Oscar Shibwe, Trace Jackson Davis, Drew Timme. I look at that between the 4 of those guys, they hit 9 threes last year. Drew Timme hit 8 of them, and so like you got to shoot at the next level now. And like these are guys I think that would have been top 15 picks, 10, 15 years ago. Like these are dudes. These are all Americans, and they're not staying in the draft. They're sticking out, getting paid enough so that they don't have to go to the G League and claim a check. They can get money in college. They make a huge difference for their college teams, but the NBA wants them to be able to play a more wide open game. And so they're not ready to put a first round pick on them. So these guys stick around. They get money and make their teams really good. Like those are huge anchors to have a guy like with Carolina. You got Bacot and you got Davis and you've got Caleb Love, and you just look around and there is more. It seems like returning in other leagues. I'm like I didn't like go through the whole list and say okay how many all conference players. The Big Ten just got specifically hit hard this year, and there's a couple I think really loaded groups, elsewhere that I trust more. It's just again like the Big Ten could still be good. It's recruiting well. Again, you have three top 10 recruiting classes in the Big Ten between Illinois, Ohio State, and Indiana. I think Michigan's right there too. So I think you really have 4, really good classes in the league. So it'll be all right, but I think other leagues are probably gonna perform higher this year. I mean, I'd be shocked I'd be really surprised if you see a Final Four team from the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Unless you get some a team kind of out of nowhere that just is tough. And I always think about Wisconsin. They're just a tough out. No matter who they have on their team, for whatever reason, they're just a tough out. So unless there's something like that, but I think that's what makes it fun, and that's why it's like fun to talk about, because Indiana, as you mentioned at the very beginning, we were just hoping for a 500 season. It felt like it sometimes, and scrape into the Big Ten or the NCAA tournament, and now all of a sudden you're a favorite. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild to consider it that way, because you're just like, well, like, are they really? Are we really talking about this already? Because like before the Big Ten tournament, they were out. They were out. At halftime in Michigan, they were done. And so we're going from that sort of like rock bottom moment to, oh yeah, they might win the league. And you're like, that happened fast. Like we changed direction on that really quick. Like, I mean, we had every reason whatsoever to bear like, okay, they're going to be an NIT team. This was, it's not a waste of a year, but it ain't good. And, the next thing they're in the tournament, like beating up on Wyoming and obviously getting crushed by St. Mary's, but they were there. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, you bring Trace Jackson Davis back and now you might win the Big Ten. Like, well, that is elite, but it is because again, you're taking a lot of talent in, sending it to the NBA and elsewhere. And so they do have a real chance. They've got as good a crack at it as anybody. Again, I could see them not winning it, sure. But there's nothing certain about this whatsoever. But I get the argument.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for filling in. I'm back. I can tell you guys are talking about Indiana and their shot with the Big Ten coming up next year. Certainly, that's going to be Indiana fans are going to be all over that. Dustin, I've already seen people thinking Big Ten championships, which this is. Hey, we got a new one now.
You want to
Dustin Schutte has Biscuit. And Dustin Dopirak has, who do you have?
Maxine. She's right.
Maxine, that's right.
Yeah.
Maxine is.
She gets loud sometimes, so it's just if the kids
usually she's chill.
Start playing, she's mostly chill, and every once in a while, there's a just crew of kids across the street that play all the time, and whenever they get, Maxine's always got something to say about that. They got multiple dogs too. Anything goes on over there, Maxine might jump up like from mid-sleep and be just howling.
Who is? I'm trying to. I hate drawing blanks on names, but my ADHD. I could have been a contender. I could have been a somebody. Who was down on the waterfront? The famous actor.
That's Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando. Maxine reminds me of Marlon Brando. She's chill. Maxine is chill, and all of a sudden makes a big noise, and then
she's there.
Marlon Brando would be like who? All of a sudden he comes out. He does like one scene in a movie and disappears. But he owns the scene. He owns it. Yeah, it's like
that's true.
That's Maxine, man. She just chill, lay out, bam, make a big old deal. But how's everything going with you, Mitch? My man, Mitch. Now this Friday I get to have Mitchell back on because we're going to be discussing. Last week, what were we talking about? We do have to take a break. I'm getting over. Let me hit that. Dustin, I think you've already stayed over, haven't you?
No. I think I'm supposed to stay for a second.
Okay, well that would be awesome. Mitchell, do you have to go?
Maybe we'll see. Oh, we lost him.
No. All right. He's back. Okay.
I guess I keep removing myself. Oh well. We'll take a break and we'll come back. We'll talk more about that. But we got on this tombstone kick last week. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Dogs. The show's gone to the Dogs. Brought to you by the Wild Club. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington or Cutter, you need the Wild.
What do you do? Right. That was good.
Yeah. Well done, y'all.
Okay.
Oh, he's on the phone.
I thought he was talking. I saw him on mute. Can you hear you?
No, he's on cell. We should hit up football before I get off, though.
Yeah. I'll probably stick around then if we're going to talk football.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because I got to get caught up.
Cool.
All I know is we just keep losing all these players. We got a bunch of coaches that I don't know anything about.
They're going to be interesting. I don't know, man. I mean, like, when there was no spring game, but there was no open practice either. Like, we saw nothing. We have not. The only thing we've seen so far is like the little, minute and a half clips they put on Twitter, which is always somebody scoring a touchdown.
Right. So, always a good thing.
Like, it's always a good thing. It's always like, it makes it. So, I mean, they might be good, but
Tom Allen say something like, we don't want to give anything away. We don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it was because, like, it's two new coordinators. So it's like, I get the sense of, like, okay, like, if we, like, offense is like, okay, well, even if we give away something vanilla, like, it's a new coordinator, So, like, it's like, what does that even mean? Like, we can't run our old offense, Like, we're letting this guy do what he wants to do with it. So it's like anything that we put on tape.
I was shocked that you guys weren't talking about football when I came on.
No, man, we're talking about
we should now. Mitchell's hanging around so we can talk football, which
I was still shocked. I'm like going, oh man, I can't believe this. I couldn't believe Dustin didn't have Mitchell going down everything on that, but
we can do it. I say we do it now. I figured people. I just put up. Well, I mean, for one thing, I'm shameless, so I was like plugging my basketball story.
Well,
I published my power rankings today, so I'm like,
that's what this show's about, baby.
Really, the last segment was just was self-plugging because Mitchell was plugging his group. I was plugging the story. That's how we,
yeah.
That's what this show's about, bro.
Off of the counter. What are you doing?
Made my page big. Now I can't get it freaking small again.
30 seconds.
Oh, come on.
RVs and pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Cabello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back. Cabello brought to you, bringing you this morning's segment here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always. Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald Times and Mitchell Paige. Just everybody's All-American.
So nice.
The show has gone to the Dogs, as it usually does. There's Tuesday's a day that we were pretty dog free, but that's about let's see. Boy, when you roll a chair on a foot, that'll.
Maxine just woke up. That got her.
That's the wake up call.
What is this?
See,
well, no, what I heard that she was like, she doesn't know what to think because it's like, why is there a dog on your computer? Dustin.
Oh, mercy. Did you get out to see the junior game yesterday, Dustin?
I didn't. I saw the scores. But I did not go.
Yeah, Xavier
We'll
Booker
try to
didn't
go.
play in the junior game for them, but they were still able to hold off Kentucky 112 to 102, which is a good sign, but it also tells you that's probably a big difference in talent without Xavier Booker there.
Yeah. Well, Kentucky hasn't been good at this event for how long?
I think it's like 102 to 41 is the senior series, I think.
It's gone, and it's not been close in a while. Like I think there's been maybe a handful of half.
Well, they won 3 games in the last 20 years, Kentucky?
I'd believe it.
It's
that
nuts.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I haven't been to all of them. I certainly haven't been to all of them in that stretch, but I feel like I've never seen a really close one.
Well, like everything has taken a hit. The Indiana side had always been held in, whether it was Market Square Arena or whatever the arena was. It was always in the NBA arena, and moved here recently because of COVID. And now I think it'll probably stay at Southport. It doesn't draw quite what it used to, but at least it's always 4 to 5 times more than what Kentucky draws. Right. They've moved theirs around so much.
Yeah, I mean, it was Bellarmine for a while. Yeah, like I remember, but the big one in Kentucky for a minute was at Bellarmine, and like Bellarmine has like a stage that reminds you of like elementary school.
Well, a high school. Every half of the high schools in the conference I was in high school, the Hoosier Hills Conference, have gyms bigger than that. Jeffersonville's 5,500, New Albany's like 4,800, Floyd Central like 3,500, and they're one of the smaller ones. Seymour, of course, with 8,000. It's crazy, but yeah. Oh well. We'll have more all-star stuff coming up this week. And talked about your most recent article out. What is it? Did you say the power rankings?
Yeah, and I decided to do Big Ten power rankings because I felt like everybody was talking about it coming off.
Is this for basketball?
Yeah, and so I figured, okay, like everybody's talking about Indiana being a favorite, and I said, well, should they be? And so
I think everybody has to wait till after the draft or after everything is determined.
I mean, I think most rosters are set.
Are they set now?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you have that initial wave of transfers. Like most recruits are set. I'm sure could be some player movement that I'm not considering, but more or less, most of the guys that are going to be taken out of the portal have been taken out of the portal at this point. Again, but you're past the withdrawal deadline as far as the draft is concerned. Again, there could be a handful of new players come in, but anybody who leaves now at this point has to sit out a year, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that you're past that deadline of when you have to leave. I think it's mostly how it's going to be. So it just seemed like a good time to write it. And it's pretty dead overall in the college scene right now. If you don't have a baseball team in regionals.
You got that right. But it is fun for baseball time. But the AAU is slowed down a little bit. But are Indiana and Michigan your favorites?
Yeah, I had them 1-2, but I had Ohio State 3. I had Illinois 4, Purdue 5, and I could mix that up. If you told me that was going to flip, I'd believe you. I'd believe anything in there. Michigan State, I had 6. I had Wisconsin 7, Iowa 8, and I'd believe you could toss that around anyway, and I'd believe it. Basically.
But the sheer fact, and I agree with you. I agree with all of that. But I also agree that Indiana should be considered a favorite.
I do, just because they've got the most coming back. I mean, like I as I mentioned, I don't I wouldn't go so far as to say I trust Indiana at this point, because again, like they lost their best shooter and they were already a bad shooting team. I think you got to give them credit because obviously they can defend. They bring all this experience back. I mean, I think they've bring back 86% of their scoring, somewhere in that range. I think it's like 85.7. So, I believe they have that gives them a real chance. They have their best player. They have, there's only 3 all Big Ten players coming back, and Trace Jackson Davis is one of them. And so the other 2 are Hunter Dickinson and Zach Edey. So the fact that Indiana has one of those guys, gives them a leg up. But it's just, they still have flaws. I mean, again, like you've seen them not be able to shoot, and what tells you they're going to be a better shooting team than they have been. Again, for whatever you want to say about Parker Stewart as a whole as a player, he was their best shooter by percentage and by makes. you know, like, and so he hit 53s. Nobody else hit more than 39. And so it's like, all right, well, what do you believe is going to get better there? Well, like, I mean, it's possible. You could argue that Tamar Bates becomes a really good shooter. You could argue Jalen Hood-Schifino becomes a really good shooter. Maybe a guy like, you know, CJ Gunn steps up, gets some minutes, hits some shots. Maybe Race Thompson gets to be a better shooter. Maybe Xavier Johnson takes a bunch more of them. Maybe if they run more pick and roll and he takes more shots coming off of that, it makes a difference. You know, but again, maybe Jalen Hood-Schifino is a really good shooter as a freshman. All those things could happen, but none of it's guaranteed. You know, like nothing about their shooting is guaranteed. It could be better. And again, they can win without good shooting. But can you win the league without good shooting is a different question.
Mitchell, and this is a team that has gone from what we were talking about just a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, as a matter of fact, under the previous regime, and the lack of success just being in the basement of the Big Ten. And in 2 years, which is pretty shocking, they're a favorite to win the conference next year. That's what IU fans wanted to see.
Yeah,
does that add pressure to the players, I guess, is what I want to ask.
As speaking from, I guess I never had that kind of pressure on me at IU, but I mean, these games there's enough pressure just playing the games. You don't need to say, oh, well, you're supposed to win the league. If anybody that says they're supposed to win the league is lying. They may be the favorites, but I mean, just like Dustin said, they lack significantly in shooting. They need some guys to step up off the bench. So when Trace does get in foul trouble, they can bring somebody in. That was Michael Durr last year. He was okay, but need somebody to step up there to help him out. But I think what gives them the best chance is how good they were on defense last year and just getting better and better, having more athleticism. They kept themselves in a lot of games because of how well they defended. And hopefully we can continue to see that now with more athletic players, because the offense gets a lot easier when you play good defense, you apply pressure, and you're getting out in transition, and the game is more open, right? That you really saw them without shooters be able to do really anything in the half court. If they weren't making shots, they'd throw it to Trace. He would back down and try to do some move after the basket, probably miss, be more athletic than the big, guard him and go get the rebound and put it back in. That was kind of their offensive half-court offense, unfortunately. So getting more athleticism on defense will just create more transition opportunities and hopefully help with some of that offensive inefficiency that we see or that we saw at least last year.
We'll have plenty of time to talk more about that. But while I have you two guys together, Indiana football, it's kind of secretive going into this year, and that's been by design by Tom Allen. He's really made no bones about that. He's talking to Hubers, and it was, going into it, it's like, man, you can tell they don't want us to know because we were not allowed around practice or the final workout, scrimmage, etc. And all the expectations last year that kind of imploded. Now they've got all this newness, new OCDC. That sounds like a band, OCDC.
I thought it was.
But yeah, and so
the OCDC cover band, basically.
There you go. Oh man, that's a great idea, Dustin.
Yeah,
that is a great idea. Oh my, another show. That's a whole nother show. Yeah. But yeah, they're going into it with kind of keeping. And to be honest, they have to open up with an Illinois team, which is a conference opponent, but that's not even the worst part. You would think that having to play a conference opponent again as your opening game would be the worst thing, but it's not. Illinois plays a game in week 0, so it's going to be Illinois' second game of the season, which is huge. I mean, as a player, Mitchell, those first couple of games, that's why they schedule those non-com gimmies, basically.
Yeah, it's such a big advantage because both schools will have some new coaches, new faces. Having a game under your belt when you're running all these new things and doing things a little differently than you were used to, the game slows down a lot more. And it can't be overstated how much of an advantage it is for Illinois to have a game under their belt, especially in a game that both teams really need. Right? We've still got the divisions for the conference for now. And while it is the way it is, Indiana needs to beat teams like Illinois if we're going to make a bowl game, right?
Oh,
we need to win that game. And so
that's a must.
Yeah, having something like that where you've got a team that's going to have a little more grease on the wheels, it makes it tough. But I think it's just interesting. I get it that you don't want to show people it's a new DC, new OC. You don't want to show people all your stuff. But I to be honest, I don't love it, right? I think that the Big Ten is a business. College football is a business, and the fans should know. We should be able to know kind of what's going on, at least a game, a spring game that's you miss an opportunity to interact with fans. I know when Kevin Wilson was there, I'm sure Tom Allen's were the same. You bring fans onto the field after the game, and you generate buzz. You get to interact with some of the players, and you create kind of some relationships that keeps you more invested. And when you keep everything real tight to your chest, especially after the year they had last year that was just disappointing in every single possible way, you have to find a way to re-engage the fans. And I think keeping your cards real close to your chest wasn't the correct move. We'll see. Hopefully I'm really wrong. But if you can show something in the spring that gets people excited, if I'm not wrong, Illinois is at home, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we need that stadium to be full. That matters. Yep. And creating excitement happens in the spring and through the summer when you're starting to see some people develop that, especially when you lost so many receivers. You have no idea what's going on. You got brand new quarterbacks. You need defense that's going to be completely different. You need offensive linemen that are going to get way better. When you don't know any of it, and I guess you can trick yourself into being excited, but based on last year, you don't really have a reason to. And if it was me, I would have done everything I could to get as much positivity out to the community, especially IU football fans. The ones that are the diehards are the best, and we need to keep those kinds of people involved and excited to continue the momentum that I still believe is in the program. But I would have liked to see some steps after last year.
The one thing, so I want to play on that. I want to get your take on this, Mitchell. I guess the only argument against it from a PR standpoint was just the level of disappointment was so drastic.
Yeah.
That it was almost going to be like almost a not exposed to them to just how much they lost. That to be like, just like, let's feel like we're starting over. Like let's keep this in a, internal situation. We don't want to know what's out there right now because people are, people really feel like they were built up for something that didn't happen. And it's like, I mean, I don't know how many people would have shown up for a spring game, I mean, and to your point, you said there've been years that there weren't that many there, and the people that show up still gives you something. Like, even if it's 100 people and they show up and they want to talk to you, that still matters. That's still something that drives you forward for the next year. I mean, I remember I don't remember if you were there yet or not, but I remember one year it rained and we had to everybody had to move inside the melon camp. And I
was on a recruiting visit for that one, actually.
Oh, you were? Okay.
I was in the building. Yep.
Yeah, they packed everybody in the melon camp for that, and it was like, okay, like, so it's not a huge crowd, but it's like, okay, but everybody came inside. Everybody did show up, and it's like, okay, like there's the plus and minus for that is that nobody, you can fit everybody in the melon camp, but people came in the melon camp. People stuck around. People cared enough to give it on. So I guess it's like, I guess my question is, do you think that it's still better, even if only 50 people showed up, it was better to have it than not have it? Or would it be one of those things where, like, man, everybody really is off the bandwagon here, and that stinks?
Yeah, I think simply yes, because everyone is off the bandwagon already. You don't need a spring game to show you that. If no one comes to the spring game, we don't need people to come to the spring game. That having fans in the stands is exciting because it makes the game more fun. It makes the day more fun, and it's great. It's one of the most fun days of the year. But the games that matter are in the fall. That's when we need the people there. So even if no one comes, it's still on TV. And people can say, I don't care about IU football anymore. I'm all basketball. if the IU spring game's on, if you're an IU fan, you're probably going to at least click it on, even for a couple minutes. You may see something you like, gets you even just a little excited.
Getting the kids interacting with the players or whatever it takes. I agree. I think that they kind of missed the boat. I know it was a gigantic disappointment, but you can't close the box. I think that really, you can't shut it off completely, which they did. But oh well. Hopefully it works out well and it turns out better. Hey, I want to give a shout out to your place there, Mitchell. Sig.
Oh, I already did.
You get that out there? I know, but we get it out there again because I know you got to probably go. So let's get it out there again.
Yeah.
Especially now. Are you only in the Charleston area?
So I live in Charleston, but I've got listings in Indiana, Florida, North Carolina, Texas, Louisiana. So we're kind of all over the place. Got our hands in the market, all different kinds of asset classes. We're moving and grooving, man.
I've never been to Charleston. I know it's a beautiful, beautiful place. So thank you, brother. I appreciate you for jumping on here today. I cannot thank you enough, as always. Looking forward to Friday and doing our tombstone back and forth. So we'll have some fun then. Thank you, brother. And, of course, to Dustin Dopirak with the Bloomington Herald Times, but also you can find him at the Indy Star. Make sure you go there, read that. Be a subscriber. I am. Keep local papers alive, baby. Keep local papers alive. I mean, it's basically a competitor of mine, but it's also a source. I mean, I have read the newspaper since I was like a freshman in high school, and I still I don't want to read it on my computer. I like to read it in my hand, but I do both. I don't have it delivered, but I go to a place that always has it. So, but I also have it on my accessible to where I can read it. But absolutely great stuff there. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's journalism, man. People don't understand it. It's a needed thing. But thanks to you as well, Dustin. Appreciate you. And all of our dog friends, Maxine, and what's your dog's name again there?
Franklin. Franklin the dog. Frank the tank.
Yeah, Franklin. I got to remember that. Maxine and Franklin made their appearances today as well. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. We've got to take a quick break. Jim Reamer's going to come up next. You guys go out and have yourselves a great day.
Thanks, man. You too.
You bet. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Cabello of part of the Wow Club Network. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington or a cutter.
All right. Bring Jimbo in. Hello, Jimbo.
Hey.
How are you, sir?
All right.
Man, you know when you make your computer screen bigger? I did it without meaning to. So now, like, the comments on the right side's cut off, and no matter if I shrink the page, it doesn't matter.
Really?
So I've increased the size of my stinking page.
I gotta go to YouTube. I keep forgetting to do that part.
And I can't scroll the stupid comments. Not stupid comments, but I can't
remove the tab. Remove the tab from your browser to create it like its own window, and see if you can't then shrink
what I'll do?
that.
Hey, about this, I bet I'll just sign in again. Where is this? Boom. And close this one down.
Uh-oh.
I think he'll be back with us shortly.
He will. I can open if we need to. I don't know the sponsors or anything, but
oh no, I'm good. There we go. Just how I needed it. Yeah, I hit something while I was on, and I could not find whatever that setting was. It was just too big. There we go. How will hulls impact the team shooters? That's a great question. Actually, did you go out to Bedford?
No, I was at team camp. Well, no, I didn't go to Bedford. I did go to team camp Saturday though.
At IU?
Mm-hmm.
How was that this weekend?
I mean, it was good. It was Travis Perry outplayed Gabe Cups.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's great. Gabe didn't have that great of a day.
That'd be great stuff to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, they lost to. The joke was Perry shoots the ball too well to play at IU. So.
What's that?
So we were joking around saying that Travis Perry shoots the ball too well to play at IU.
Where's he going? Is he? He's not committed.
He's not committed anywhere yet. Yeah,
he has an IU offer, right?
Travis does.
Let's see.
I'll check. I'll check right quick.
Basketball. There we go.
30 seconds.
He does not.
What year is he?
2024.
So that's a junior, right? Going to be a junior?
Yeah.
It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. Jim Reamer popping in now from Courtside, Indiana. How's it going, Jimbo?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Cannot complain. Wouldn't do me any good. Nobody wants to listen to it.
Be good if you did, huh?
Yes, darn right. Yep. It's lots going on this weekend, basketball wise, even though it seems like not a lot. The team camps at IU over the weekend. Also the junior all-star game down at Bedford. But you were down at IU in Bloomington for the team camps.
Went to team camp. Yeah.
Mike Woodson. And was the entire staff out there?
I think so. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I would say yes. I saw them all. I saw other people I didn't know, and then had to figure out who was whom. So, players were on hand. Of course, some of them were keeping score. Others were just going back and forth. I don't know that I saw all the players. I didn't see Race Thompson, for example. Trace was around. But I saw a lot of the guys, at least the ones that I know visually. I think Renault was there. Of course, the freshmen are going to be there. They're doing a lot of the grunt work. So, but it was good. It was good teams. Centerville was there from Ohio, so the Gabe Cups was there. Some of the guys there IU's looking at as well were there, and it was a couple teams that probably wondered why they were there, but all in all, I thought the competition was good. Jalen Harrelson was there. Trent Sisley was there. Those were
Joey Brown from North Central, J.Q. Roberts from Bloomington North, Jonathan Powell, what you talked about, who is offered, Kanan Catchings, Brownsburg, Travis Perry, Linden County, Lyon County, Kentucky. Now that cracks me up. Trent Sisley, like you said, Jalen Harrelson. If and when they offer Travis Perry, do you think that after that an IU offer could be coming?
Well, Cups and Perry played against each other, and Perry was that game. I realize it's just one game, was the better player, and he was. Both their teams aren't great outside of them. Someone said Centerville had another kid that's supposed to be really good. If it was, he didn't stand out in the 1.5 games that I got a chance to see. And it was the difference was Perry was a better shooter. Perry is an outstanding shooter. He was a kid that as a freshman I wasn't in love with. I just thought he was he was definitely an early maturing kid, so I think that's where a lot of his name recognition came in from. He certainly was. He'd been playing varsity in Kentucky since his 8th grade year, which is allowed in Kentucky. He will probably graduate being the all-time leading scorer in Kentucky high school basketball history. and it will be very difficult for anybody to eclipse that, I think, for a while, because the numbers that he put up as an 8th and 9th grader, I think are going to be hard to top. He has changed his body. He's gotten quicker. I like his length. He's shorter. Verbal Commits has him at 6'3". He's not 6'3". He's maybe 6 feet, maybe a little bit taller than that. He's definitely shorter than Cups. And as much as you can like a kid like Cups, how hard he plays and what his motor is, and how communicative he is on the floor, how much of a good defender he can be and should be. He's still, I wonder what he's going to do if he's not a natural shooter. Although I think he does shoot the ball pretty well, but if he needs room to get it off and he's not able to get downhill and get separation without the use of a ball screen or without use of some sort of, I don't think Cups at the high major level is just going to beat his man. And maybe I could be wrong on that. I wonder at that point how much of a shot creator he's going to be. I think he'll always be a good glue guy and a good leader, and just see how that develops. But then he struggled shooting the ball all weekend, all day. At least again, everybody played 3 games. I got a chance to watch 1.5 games, and even against Lyon County, against Travis Perry's team, it was a 1-possession game with 15 seconds to go, and Cups missed 5 free throws in a row. So he and 2 of them, weren't even close. So not an outstanding performance. And then the flip side of that is Perry was really impressive. Playmaking, his ability to hit a shot. I mean, Cups guarded him, and Perry was able to get into the teeth of their defense and make plays. He is a much better shot creator for others than he was when he was younger, which that's natural. But all in all, I just loved how automatic of a shot he has. He's a tremendous shooter. And I think the concern with him, would be his size. He's got offers from Western Kentucky, Mississippi.
How tall do you say he is?
I think he's a shade over 6 feet, maybe. I could be wrong on that. He could be shorter than that.
See, the thing, everybody gets, and I understand, that sounds to be the exact size of a guy named Jordan Hulls. Is he probably about that height?
No, Hulls is bigger.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I would think Jordan's taller than I am. I've not been around Jordan since sophomore year of college.
Maybe he's 6'1" then.
Yeah, he's a legitimate 6'1", probably. A shade. What was he listed at when he played at Indiana? Let's check that real quick.
I guess my point being is, I know you'd love to have every guard be 6'5".
Oh, I agree.
Get up but you know what? When a guy just has it, a guy has it, and
Hulls was listed 6 feet, by the way.
There you go.
At least according to Basketball Reference.
So what does that tell you?
Well, but let's pull back. Yeah, but let's pull back on Hulls too, because I'm not going to say the kid's name in my case because it's a player I coached, and I don't have enough time to defend a position. But Hulls was really good when he was basically the fifth option. When he was the guy, he was forced to being the guy. It was the early years of Crean. There was just a lot of losing, and there was a lot of losing when he was getting a majority, a lot of minutes. As they got more and more pieces in, he became a reliable niche shooter. I think the question there is would Perry at that size, Braden Smith, who's going to Purdue, would have been the same discussion at some point. How much of his issue was size? Now, in Braden Smith's case, it's incredible length. Incredibly long arms, and Perry's kind of right there too. I would say pretty close. It's definitely long for a kid. He's definitely got a plus wingspan. And Hulls settled in nicely to being that gravity changing shooter that you had to always guard. And whether he was hitting 3 or 4 threes in a game or hitting 0 threes in a game, you always had to guard Hulls. So that's where someone like Perry would, somebody who shoots that well would be an advantage. But the question is he is much more effective he would maximize his ability to at a level where he could play the point. And I think that's where you start to question, can he do that in the Big Ten? And importantly, could IU win or compete for a Big Ten title with him at the point? I think yes. I think he could. I think they could. You'd have to have you'd have to be big on the wing, or you definitely couldn't be small on the wing. But I think a kid like that could come in and he's good enough. Now I believe so now. And it's a lot like Bohannon at Iowa, but at the same time, you've got to be big at the wing. You can't constantly be trying to play catch up at every position if you're down 2 or 3 inches at each spot.
I'm trying to look, but I know that, let's say Travis Perry gets an IU offer. He would be like the 4th or 5th guy to get from Kentucky to get an offer under Mike Woodson's staff. Yeah. That's already more than any staff in the history of IU basketball. And that's in the first 2 years. Yeah. And that's in a state that doesn't produce a ton of talent, but that just shows you how they are scouring for every little bit in every little place. And I think you have to take your hat off to this staff for not being afraid to go after the right guys, not just the big name guys.
Right. Well, yeah, recruiting wise, I haven't seen a list of 2024 nationally. I don't put a lot of stock in those lists beyond the top 20 or so, top 20 or 30. He's going to be a big name. They win a lot of games. Indiana Elite, that team wins a lot of games. He's a big reason why they win a lot of games. And again, his playmaking has really improved since last year. And that's add that to his shooting. And that's I was impressed. I liked him all spring, but I was really, really impressed with his play this past Saturday.
Plenty of stuff. We got to take a break, but plenty of stuff to talk about. Here's a good one. Kenneth says he has a hard time seeing Galloway having as big a role as he did last year. Personally, he thinks Gunn is underrated. If he earns playing time, he thinks it will be at the expense of Galloway, and I think that's could be true. We'll talk about that. Plenty more as well. Jordan Hulls. Speaking of Jordan, how will he impact the shooting on this team? We talked about that being a serious issue. So we'll talk about that as well when we come back. Hey, you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar, where they have one of the best, if not the best, selection of wines around. Gourmet cheeses, sandwiches. It's nothing but the best. All part of the Wow Club. Make sure you sign up for that Wow Club. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out, the birds are chirping, and the fairways are.
I think that that's going to be. I think that actually Jordan is going to be a help on the shooting here. I just don't think that anyone has really tried to do that, but he's probably the best guy because no one has ever had to fight as hard to get that shot often he has. And so helping guys that don't have to work that hard should make it even a little easier. Be mechanics.
The conversation we just had looking at Hulls' stats when he was at IU, he shot 40% from three all 4 years. So he was pretty efficient. His first year, he struggled inside the 3-point line relative to the other 3 years. His second year, he was 41.4% from three. His first year with Zeller, his 2 years with Zeller, his first year jumped to 49.3. That's a big leap.
That shows you what having
absolute inside-out game, yeah.
Yeah, drawing that away from you. And right now, today, currently, this minute, he's shooting 45%. He's going to walk off of the court, and that's another rarity. He's going to walk off of the court and immediately onto the staff. He's going to go from playing his last basketball game and coming straight here to the staff and working with those players. So and that's pretty. I mean, he's having those years in the pros. Playing with other guys. That has to be. That's a great learning tool as well that he's going to be able to use. I mean, and you combine that with Mike Woodson and those guys, it should be an effective tool.
Teaching shooting is pretty fickle art, though. It's not
I'm
necessarily it's not necessarily attached to great shooters, especially the way he shot it. I mean, you would not teach kids to shoot the ball the way he shot it, like off their ear, cocked back. It's a 2-piece shot. Shooting coaches today would teach more of that 1-piece shot, which is what Curry shoots, like Steph Curry. That doesn't mean Holes can't teach that. You don't necessarily have to teach people to shoot the way you did. I think his ability, one thing that I see translate immediately if he's going to be involved in that capacity is footwork, is how to catch, how to get open, how to come off screens.
Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by BB's Market in Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Well, welcome back. It is a Monday. I hope your weekend was well. Jim spent some time out down at. I assume that was all in Cook. Was that all in the Cook?
Well, it was Cook and Assembly, yeah, both places.
This weekend, I was not around for that. How was just being in there, seeing the balls bounce around Cook and? I
always enjoy it. Yeah, the Cook Hall is an impressive setup. Illinois was the first team to have a practice facility in the Big Ten, and I enjoyed their setup. But the one thing that you can do at Cook is while they have a separate men's gym and a separate women's gym, they are still connected by a temporary wall,
right?
And they can pull it back and you can watch both games at once. So that's what I like. I sat at the edge, literally the far edge of the wall, with my chair straddling the wall, so nobody could walk in front of me.
Did you see when you were out there? Did you see the freshmen?
The IU's freshmen?
Yeah.
I saw Hood Schifino. I saw Hood Schifino. I saw Renault. If I saw anybody else, I didn't see CJ. And if I saw anybody else, I didn't recognize their face.
Well, speaking of CJ, he was one of the points of topic coming back. Kenneth said that he thinks that CJ is underrated, and I can agree with that somewhat. I haven't seen him play some, not a lot, but I mean, and it doesn't matter what I've seen; it's what he does.
Right.
But the thing is, Galloway is going to have 2 years of experience in front of him already,
right?
Playing in college, and I don't care that still, if talent is close, even under a little bit, experience weighs in heavily. Because he's been able to play. He was able to play as a freshman, and that means a lot. But we'll see. Who knows? CJ can step right in. Maybe he can do it because he's got that gunslinger type mentality.
Well, he certainly has the ability to shoot the ball that is better than what Trey was coming in and what Trey was last year from distance, at least. The concern with Gunn is that, and some of this could be coaching, and I'm not being critical of Coach Kiefer. Just in terms of how you run your team, he spent a lot of his junior year deferring to 2 other players, and both of them ended up at Division I schools. So it's not like they weren't talented, but he spent a lot of that year deferring, and in big moments he was able to step up and make big plays. The one example would have been against Moeller when they played Logan Duncombe's team at Southport during that tip-off classic they have every year. He really turned it on for the final 3 minutes of regulation and overtime, but he was statistically a complete non-factor up to that point. Everything ran through Shamar Avance and DJ Hughes, and when they needed it, when they were down late, Gunn made the plays. So there's some bad and some good in that. The bad was it took him a while to get going. And he was the one player, especially his junior year, that they screened for. It was, and that's the way it went much of the year, right up to the state championship game against Carmel. Last year, the Carmel game especially, he didn't get a shot in the first quarter. How that could happen, I don't know. But he flipped the switch, especially in the second half, and showed some big-time shot making. I mean, he was elevating. I mean, I love how he elevates into a shot. There was a lot of good in how he played in the second half. But then there was also how in the world does a kid like him not get a shot in the first quarter of a game against presumably their biggest opponent? May not be their biggest rival, but it's definitely, mid-conference. They're definitely foes. There's no love lost between any of the Marion County schools in Carmel. And it's defending state champs. There's a lot of reasons to come out and be motivated that game. And in the first quarter, he didn't take a shot. Now, it couldn't have been all great defense. A lot of it, I think, is there's sometimes where CJ sort of pulls back a little bit. But when he flips that switch and the dog in him comes out, it's the DAWG dog, the dog in him comes out, then his talent is immense. I think he's got pro level talent. I think he could be a guy that if he can add weight, he could end up being an NBA guy. I mean, not unlike Blake Wesley, not unlike Jaden Ivey. I mean, he could have that type of an impact on a team, but he's got to have their motor.
Yeah,
and I think that's where it's been questionable at times.
I think that you learn that if you don't have it, when you play with the level of talent that he's going to be with next year, he has never been around this level of talent on a constant basis, and it's going to be every day. He's going to be challenged. When's the last time he was challenged for playing minutes? So he is
sophomore year of high school.
So it's been a couple of years. So he knows what it's like, but he wants to play now, and they all do. They all want to come in and make a difference, be the guy. And so I think that just when you're around that every day, when you're already the guy, it's harder to self-push past that. It is. But, I mean, the greats do it. But when you're around it every day, it's not that difficult. And it kind of becomes a mentality. I think once you reach this point, because you don't have a choice. It's either survive or die.
But it plagued Romeo Langford. Plagued him immensely his 1 year at Indiana.
I would say it plagued Noah as well.
Noah Vonleh.
I think he was but I think Romeo was and is a much more one-dimensional player.
As
far as he's not a shooter. It was his gig was getting to the rim, but that works in high school and college, but it didn't work that well. It hasn't worked that well in the pros.
The disappointing thing in Romeo was just his lack of intensity on the defensive end of the floor when he was touted as being the stopper caliber defender. And there have been some kudos thrown his way during his Boston days by Brad on how he got in the game because he could defend. And just at Indiana, he just didn't show it. Obviously he could be a good defender, but when the ability is to be a great defender and you fall far short of it because of effort, or at least because of perceived effort, then you're thinking, man, that was just a disappointing year for him and for Indiana. But I don't think CJ comes in with the kind of the kind of finishing ability that Romeo had. What did that say? I don't.
Tim came in this morning and found bird poop on one of his monitors when he came. I don't know how that is possible, but
I thought he was comparing our comments to bird poop.
Well,
I wouldn't.
Just how you get bird poop on a monitor unless it's outside.
A bird got in? I don't know. Or a bird got in. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. I see.
Yeah, but I mean, he's just got it. If CJ's got if he's got a motor, if he comes in and has a motor from the beginning, I think he would have a shot to challenge for playing time. But there's a lot of people in his way. I mean, Indiana's still got a lot of depth on the wing, and I think their roster is unbalanced a little bit in that direction. But when you've got 13 guys on scholarship, you're going to have duplication somewhere, and it's I wouldn't assume he's just going to pass up guys that are above him because those guys are also going to get better. And I think he's going to have to be able to be a better defender and a better passer than what Galloway has shown to be, and somebody who can keep that ball moving, and somebody who can actually also create a shot for others.
Yeah, I and then we got the other guys coming in, but I got off on that tangent with CJ, but so what I just saw something in the comment from Shimitori 66 says that every IU recruit that has been at IU for at least 3 years has finished his collegiate days being ranked in the AP top 10 at least 1 week. No other school can say that. The wording is important, though. Yeah, because I guess I'm missing it because was Robert Johnson not at IU for 3 years? Or there was no one that was with Archie for 3 years that's no longer here, because none of those, anybody in that group would not have made it. And there has to be somebody, because that was a 4-year period.
I don't think Indiana was in the top 10 during his time.
Are you kidding me? Did they ever hit the top 20? I don't think that they were ever ranked.
But I mean, hold on. Let's see. Nope. They 21st was their AP high.
He's counting. Here he goes. Comes back. Finney, like Justin Smith and Al Durham, may still yet make the AB top 10 in his final year at another school. Okay, he's being a little tricky. So you can't say that they made the top 10 while at Indiana. So that kind of,
which is all we care about, right?
Yeah. So that kind of makes that statement defunct, in my opinion. And then Forrest thinks everybody's underrating Caleb Banks.
Well, okay. I don't know what underrated means. I mean, there's only so many minutes. There's only so many minutes to go around.
Until they get in and play and start playing each other and start scrapping, because they have a lot of new stuff to learn, guys. Don't forget that. They have a new level of intensity that they have to play. They have a lot of new things to learn defensively, offensively, and they're going to be going against the best talent in the Big Ten on a team that is going to be one of the favorites to win the conference now. So that's a lot of new stuff. And I talked earlier how cool is it that for Indiana fans that 2 years removed from a program that was in the basement of the Big Ten to today being listed as one of the favorites to win the conference next year. That's the turnaround that people were wanting, and there you go. You wanted it, you got it. Now nothing's been won, but they have put themselves in a position to do that. So I mentioned that earlier. That's just a big thing.
And not a lot of these teams compete at the top of the conference playing multiple freshmen unless those freshmen are considered to be guys that are going to be early entrants into the NBA. And that's talent-wise. I mean, you can make the case that Hood Shafino is going to play an awful lot and likely going to be a starter. You can make the case that there's more minutes off the bench for Renault just because he's the biggest of the other three freshmen. The question is, there's no way that Caleb Banks and CJ Gunn are both going to get major minutes or even consistent minutes. I would be surprised if any of them, either one of them, got consistent minutes as freshmen. But definitely would be utterly shocked if they both played. I mean, somebody's going to have to not get minutes.
Yeah, everyone thought that Indiana had depth last year. Well, nothing close to what it is like right now. Leslie says that I think that even Jordan can't get on the floor. I think she means as a coach instructor. I'm not sure that that's accurate now, because there are 2 extra people that are allowed to work with players, no more than 4 at once, I believe. But they've changed the rules somewhat.
And it's just during this fall. It's just during this fall and these fall and spring periods too, or these off-season periods too. Once official practice starts, it's still the same group of people. So
and there's other ways to do it. But hey, unbelievably, we're about at that time. It's on. Can't believe that. Yeah, it just flies. See, that's why
we stop at 10:30. Every week I carve out till 11, and I keep.
Well, that's good. I wish that was the case instead. Trust me, I still don't like that change. But oh well. Hey, I got a lot of thank yous today. First of all, Jim Reamer, Mitchell Paige, Dustin Dopirak, of course, from the Herald Times and the Indy Star. Make sure you follow those guys and give them a read. Big mention for Silver Creek Baseball. Saw earlier that they're pounding the ball. And, of course, John, the producer, too, stepping in this week for JTP1, who is on vacation. Back tomorrow with K-Bro. Kevin Brockway will be back. Mike DeCourcy, of course, and Chronic Hoosier. You know, and I'm going to keep track. We talked about what Jordan can help this team or not. So I'm going to watch the three-point shooting from the last 4 or 5 years, and then over the next few years with Jordan. And I've already got it's called the difference, THE, the difference, the Halls effect. And we'll see what it does on that shooting. You got what's coming up next week for you quickly? We got about 10 seconds.
League start now. The June league start. There's a Greenfield league tonight. IPS has their league that starts tonight, although I won't be able to be there this evening. But then the big leagues at the Pacer Athletic Center in Westfield, Finch Creek, and Noblesville. You're going to have a lot of at least Central Indiana basketball being played. There's some stuff down in Southeast Indiana on Thursday and Friday that I'm going to be down. So if you want to meet up and go to some mid-afternoon basketball games, I don't know what your schedule is. I'll be down in your neck of the woods. There's just a lot of stuff like that, and then we're shaping up for the end of June, the big event at the Top 100 on Sunday the 19th, and then the big event, the Charlie Hughes Invitational, which is effectively sort of a pseudo state tournament that they have at Carmel and Westfield high schools.
Sounds like a plan, man. Well, I can't thank everybody enough. Most importantly, thanks to you guys, because without you, we've got no reason to be here. But back again to do it all over again tomorrow. Make sure you hit up the Wow Club and join that up and get your everything from BB's Market and much more. We'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, until then, guys, go out and have yourselves a great day. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.